is the broker with Magnolia Real Estate. He has, I think, the #1 independent brokerage in the area, which is incredible. So thank you for being here and sharing all your knowledge, but I'll let you take it away now, Matt.
Cool. Thank you, Rachel, and thanks everybody. I appreciate seeing everybody on here today. So I love doing these quarterly updates, and I appreciate the opportunity that Suzanne and Rachel give me for doing this. It's awesome to be able to connect you with all of you guys to try to keep you guys in the loop too. We spend a lot of time with our agents trying to educate them on what's happening and what's changing and what's going on. And a lot of times the people with the boots on the ground like you guys aren't always kept in the loop. So I love being able to provide you guys that information. So really, I want to start with the NAR lawsuit settlement that continues to change the landscape of real estate and how real estate transactions are handled. I've talked about it several different times on the calls I've been on throughout the year. Last year, there was a settlement that was created out of a lawsuit that had been going on for years and years and years. The settlement changed the way that buyers agent commissions are published and pushed out there. So the settlement they came up with changes. We changed the way we did business throughout this year, and they have come back and they have changed it again to try to make it even more transparent for all parties involved. So at the end of the day, change is hard, but this change is good. So what I want to talk with you guys about is how the market in St. Louis is changing versus in some other areas of the state. So effective October 15th, cooperative compensation between brokerages is going to be a thing of the past for the most part here in St. Louis. And what cooperative compensation is that, how many of you on here have listed a house before? Anybody listed a house for sale on the market? Okay. So when you took that listing, when you listed your home before, the commission rate was a combination of the listing agent's commission and what the seller was going to offer the buyer's agent commission through what we called cooperative compensation between brokerages. So if you took a listing for a certain percentage, a piece of that percentage went to the buyer's agent and a piece of that percentage went to the listing agent. What is now changing in St. Louis is cooperative compensation is not going to exist. So when you list a home moving forward, as of October 15th in St. Louis, you will negotiate a listing contract commission with your listing agent. That's it. So the listing agent says, I will list your house for this percentage. And that is it. And then what happens is the buyer's agent is going to negotiate their commission on the contract with you at the time of contract when they submit an offer on your property. And the seller will have the option to pay that commission, negotiate that commission, or refuse to compensate that buyer's agent. So there'll be those options. Those options have always been there. It's just been always negotiated on the front end during the listing instead of the back end of the contract. So that's the big thing that's changing right now. So if you are going to sell a house or you're going to list a house, just be prepared and have those conversations with your agent and your brokers so you understand what that process is. And that when you list that property, you understand that even though the listing agreement is here, there is a very good chance, 99% chance, that the buyer's agent and the buyer is going to ask you to pay their agent's compensation, which is going to raise your commission rate up to what typically you would have seen in the past. So that is one of the big things that's happening right now in our market. October 15th is the date that most of those changes go into play for the agents. It's when new forms go into place. There's a lot of different things that are happening on October 15th. Most brokerages and agents are already doing what is going to be done on the 15th, but everything is official on the 15th for us on those changes. So just a different way to think about it. Your brokers and your agents should be providing you guys, if you are a seller, with a net sheet or a breakdown of what those costs are so you easily understand them. but it is going to, the buyer's agent's commission is going to be negotiated on that contract when you're in the negotiation phase on that. So that's probably the biggest thing right now that's happening in our industry and the changes that are taking place. Some of you have probably already dealt with that. Some of you probably will be dealing with that. But end of the day, not much has changed other than the fact of negotiating that buyer's agency at the time of the listing. You're going to negotiate it at the time of contract. So anybody got questions on that or thoughts or comments while we're on that topic? No, quiet group today. I want to know what Dave's doing. I mean, he's out there like shoveling, and I'm just like, I'm feeling good about sitting in the office right now based on what Dave's out there doing. So,
Well, the world needs ditch diggers too. So I
I
bought some
love it.
property.
That's
Bought some
awesome.
property up in Wisconsin, so I'm kind of cultivating it a little bit.
That's
So,
beautiful. That's awesome.
Hey, Matt, it seems like that the small time buyers, first time buyers are gonna get hurt more by this than like these corporate companies that come in. They're just gonna pay their agents the commission just to get the property.
And that's a possibility. And the buyer's agents have that option too. So when I contract with a buyer, when I contract with that buyer agrees up front to compensate me for their representation. And so what we're seeing right now is a lot of people are getting creative on their offers. So if my rate to represent you is, a certain percentage, and you want to pay part of that, and you want the seller to pay part of that, that makes your offer look a little bit more competitive. But not all buyers have that option. And you're absolutely right. It is going to put, if you've got a corporation that's out there buying property and they're willing, then they've got the money to pay their agent, and they don't have to have the seller do it. It does put that smaller first-time home buyer at a smaller disadvantage, So there's going to be a lot of learning curves with it, that's for sure. And I saw there was a chat in the chat. Scotty had mentioned that there was 2 realtors told them they couldn't walk a property until they were under buyer agent agreement, and that is the other part of that settlement. Is the other part of the settlement states that for us to work with a buyer before we start showing property offers, all that stuff, that we are required to be entered into a buyer's agency agreement with them. So Missouri has always had a buyer's agency agreement requirement. And what this is doing is putting another level on there saying that we're going to make sure that we've entered into that agreement before we go walk those properties. So Scotty, especially the investor side of things, I get a lot of questions from, because they're like, well, I don't want to sign an agreement with an agent, or I don't want to be locked in to use this agent, or whatever the case may be. So there's non-exclusive agency that's out there. So you can enter into a non-exclusive agency, which still gives you the option to work with whoever you want. The other thing I would do is you can do an agency agreement that's just for that specific property, or that's just for investment property. So if you said, Matt, I really like you, but I don't want you to sell me my personal residence, but I want you to sell me investment property, I can do a buyer's agency agreement with you that outlines those terms. It says, I'm not representing you on anything except investment properties. And again, it doesn't have to be exclusive, or it can just be a one-time agreement for that property. If you find a property and you say, hey, can you show this to me? I can do an agreement with you that says, yeah, I can show it to you. And the only thing that you're liable with me with is 123 Main Street, that one property I showed you. So don't be scared to sign those agreements, and don't get mad at the agents that are asking for them, because those agents are required to have that now in the file. Even before we schedule a showing, we do anything, we're getting hit left and right by saying, do you have an agreement with this person? And you can modify those agreements however you want. So, if you want that agreement just to be for 3 properties that agent's going to show that day, that they can do that for you. So, but yes, they are required to have a buyer's agency in place before they show you any property. Any other questions on settlement stuff? Everybody good with it? Cool. All right, let's talk inventory. The biggest things driving our market for the last year and a half, 2 years, has been inventory, interest rates, and inflation. So inventory is It's coming up a little bit. We're seeing a few more houses hitting the market. St. Charles County was actually hovering a little over 2 months of inventory, which it hasn't been over 2 months of inventory in a while. So we're seeing a few more houses out there in St. Charles County. St. Louis County was still under 2 months of inventory, so it was hovering around 1.8 months as of last month. But a healthy, strong market is somewhere that's a seller's market is somewhere between 3.5 and 4 months of inventory, and that's still considered a seller's market. You get over 4 months of inventory, they think that flips it to a buyer's market. So we're still well below our inventory levels, which are keeping our prices up. However, I will say that I have seen more negotiations on inspections than I have seen in the last 3 years. Buyers are not waiving inspections. We're very rarely seeing buyers waive those inspections. And on top of that, they are conducting their inspections and then they're asking for the world. So be prepared for that. If you think you are going to list the house right now and get by without making any repairs or jumping through some hoops for some inspections, you're sadly mistaken. That ship has sailed, and for the most part, we are seeing full inspection contingencies, and those inspection contingencies are being carried out through the notice process. So be prepared for that. The other thing I would tell you to be prepared for is we are starting to see some longer lines when it comes to occupancy inspections again, because you've got more and more people that aren't waiving those. You've got a few more houses on the market. So the wait times right now for occupancy inspections are starting to tick up. We're seeing St. Louis County get behind again. We're starting to see some of the municipalities get behind again. So if you are in the process of flipping a house and you're getting close to being done, or you are done, get that occupancy inspection ordered as soon as possible, because we are seeing some lag time on that again. And I think as the market starts to ramp up a little bit more with a little bit more inventory, we're going to see those wait times get a little bit longer. So inventory though is looking good. We are seeing more houses out there. We're seeing more and more hit the market, but we're still way below what a good healthy inventory number is. So keep that in mind. As for interest rates, the other driving factor, we are seeing interest rates starting to come down. So we have, I have seen interest rates locked in anywhere between 5.5% to 6.5%. Seems pretty average right now. I think the 30-year fix is sitting somewhere around like 6.8, something like that. But we are seeing some people and some lenders working some magic on getting some good rates out there. So interest rates dropping, even the talk of interest rates dropping has been pushing people to list their house. So we've got a lot of people that have been sitting on homes that they said, well, I don't feel like the market is strong enough, or, the interest rates are still too high. I'm not going to find the buyers I want. But when the Fed made the drop of the 30-year or of the Fed rate, the prime, that just automatically got people excited. And even before interest rates started dropping on the 30-year fix, people started getting excited and said, okay, now I'm ready to sell my house. September was pretty slow across the board when it came to the market and closings and contracts. October and November seem to be really picking back up. Lots of people are out of the summer funk now. They're into full buying mode, and we're seeing a lot of buyers out there being active, which is exciting. So lots of things going under contract, and we're also seeing a lot of things getting listed. I've got a lot of flippers that we represent that we're working on projects all summer and are listing them hot and heavy right now, trying to get those things sold before the holidays. And that would be one of my suggestions to any of you. If you've got projects in the pipeline, listing a house the day before Thanksgiving is not the right thing to do. Okay. I can sell a house any time of the year, but I can get you a much better price with much more competition if you let us list it, or you let somebody list it prior to the week before Thanksgiving. So keep that in mind. If you're going to list around the holidays, drop that house either the first or second week of December. You get too close to Thanksgiving or too close to Christmas, and you're just going to sit and you're going to waste days on market. So if you can't drop it, you know, at least a couple weeks before Christmas, then drop it right after Christmas, or the new year. But, just make sure that you're paying attention to those timelines and paying attention to those holidays, because it makes a huge difference. And then depending on what our winter is going to be like, you know, people are always out looking at houses even in the snow, but avoiding those holidays and those major, you know, congested times with family and friends coming in is good for your days on market. So outside of that, we're seeing inflation on the national scale is coming down according to the government. I don't know if that's true or not, but we got an election coming up, so they're going to say it's coming down. Even though I'm still paying a ridiculous amount for gas and eggs and bread. So but as long as the government says it's coming down, the Fed's going to make another interest rate drop. So that's okay for us. So we'll probably see another interest rate drop before the end of the year at the Fed, which is going to be great. I think that's going to make for an exceptional beginning of 2025. People get real nervous with an election. And so we've got a major election coming up in November. No matter who wins, you're going to see the market take a little, take a hop, skip, and a jump to make sure it settles itself down, but we should be good. I know I've had a lot of people calling me and asking me how Kamala Harris's plan to boost the housing market by giving I think it's $20,000 or $25,000 per house if you're a first-time home buyer. There's a lot of people that are nervous about that. I can tell you that we've had already started conversations at the national level with the National Association of Realtors. If she's elected, how that would work, what we would want that verbiage to look like, how that's going to get paid for. So we do have a voice in that. I don't personally know how they're going to pay for it, but we'll see. So lots of questions about that. There's a lot of people that think that they're hearing this on the news, and so we're getting a lot of questions from our clients saying, "Hey, how do I qualify for this $25,000 credit?" And it doesn't exist yet, and I don't know if it will ever exist. But as of right now, there's nothing out there. So, but outside of that, market is strong. We're seeing a few more days on market. So, when you're preparing for your holding costs, if you're doing a flip, make sure you don't, be aware it could possibly sell the first weekend, but you need to have some holding costs built into for 15, 20 days on market possibly to get that thing sold. So make sure you're building that in as well. But outside of that, it's strong. Housing market is strong. We're seeing great numbers still coming in. We're not 50,000 over asking price, but we're still seeing competition, still seeing multiple offers. And there's also some deals. There's some really good deals on the MLS too. If you don't have an agent working for you in the MLS, make sure you find one, because there are deals out there. People are, they get nervous. House sits for 30 days on the market and they're not used to that. We haven't seen that in a couple of years. And so they're ready to take a lower offer, and you might be able to get yourself a deal. So make sure you're paying attention to those days on market and the houses that have been sitting out there for 30 days. What questions do you guys got? What else we got going on out there? Anybody got questions?
Matt, we have a few people who, a lot of our borrowers, their stuff sells same weekend or next weekend, which has made some people nervous. They're like, my house didn't sell same weekend. I'm like, it's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's normal. But we have a handful of clients who have stuff listed 30 to 60 days on market. What would be your advice for, flippers out there to be in the category of selling within a couple weeks of listing?
A huge thing is price. Make sure you dove into the comps. Some properties are really hard to comp out, especially I've seen the work that you guys do. Most of our flippers are they put out an amazing product that's worth that amount of money. But you've got to be able to compare apples to apples. And if you've got the most expensive house on the street, it's going to take a hot minute to sell. I'm not saying it's not going to sell at that price, but you've got to be prepared for that. So make sure that, you know, you have done your homework and your agent has done their homework on what those comps truly are. I've seen a few houses out there here recently where it's a beautiful renovation. I mean, they did a great job, but they're $30,000 too high on where they came in at. And whether that's because they spent a little more than they should have, or they just don't understand those comps. That pricing piece of this is so huge, because, you know, money's going to start getting a little cheaper, but still buyers are being a little bit more picky. And, you know, you've got to, when you look at those comps, one of the biggest things you have to do is, if you see that there were 4 houses that sold on that street or in that neighborhood, you need to see where they started versus where they finished. Because if they were all listed at $299.9 and they all sold for $350, then you shouldn't be priced at $350. You should be priced closer to that $299 mark, because the market did what the market does and it drove those prices up. But the real comp on that is where they originally started at. And yeah, you might be able to start a little bit higher than that $299 mark based on those sales. But if you try to start at $350, you're not going to get it. It's just not going to happen. So you've got to be very, very cautious of that pricing, and make sure you pay attention. Don't just look at where it ended. Look at where it started and how it got to that end number. That's the key. The other thing to pay attention to is, were there any seller concessions? Because I saw one the other day where our client was like, well, this person got $360, but they ended up paying $12,000 in closing costs. So they got $360 minus 12 grand. So they really get $348. We were trying to convince them to price their house at $340, and they would have probably gotten $345 in the multiple offer situation and been right back to where the other house was. But they weren't looking at the whole picture. So you have to look at the whole picture on those listings. The other thing is if you're not staging a renovated house, find a stager. Suzanne hooked me up with an amazing, I love her. She's amazing. Eclipse Staging. She has a flat rate she's charging while she's building her business, and she's phenomenal. And so I think $1,500, $2,000, she's going in and staging
so
most of
cheap.
the house. And it's awesome. It's the best money you'll ever spend. Make
Thanks,
sure your
Matt.
pictures are good too.
Yes. Oh
If
my
you're not using
gosh.
a professional photographer, your agent's not using a professional photographer, we got to have a conversation about that. So pictures sell houses, guys. So
Brian, are you happening to be with Corey right now?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like this is our little plug to Corey. If you do not have a professional photographer, use Corey. Corey's actually out in Sedona right now with Brian, taking professional pictures of his new vacation rental. But yeah, the amount of listings I see where it's like they're just kind of taking it themselves, I just instantly face palm. I'm like, don't do that.
well, and the other thing is too is more isn't always
They're talking about you.
So if your photographer goes out and takes 125 photos of the house, your agent should not have 125 photos of the house up there. So Corey does a phenomenal job with it, because when Corey takes pictures, Corey gives you the pictures of the house that you need, and that's what's going to sell your house. So if you've got an agent that has 200 photos of a 1,100 square foot house up, you're doing something wrong. So
Corey,
Corey.
Agreed. You got any tips on making photos awesome for listings, for flips or anything?
Well, I like what you said. I think overwhelming people with photos is not necessary, and it kind of bores people. You want to get them through the listing, let them have like the greatest sense of the house as possible without them halfway through going, I'm bored, without even seeing the master bedroom yet.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and if you've got 15, 20 photos of the exterior before you get inside, something's wrong there too. Like, that's
Yeah.
insane. I should get one good photo of the front, maybe a good one of the back if it's like an amazing backyard, and then I want to start seeing the inside of the house. You can put 30 photos of the backyard at the end of the photos, but get us into the house.
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. If you are gonna do more just to kind of show, or if it's got like a house that's got a million different great angles outside, just like you said, get a teaser of what the outside looks like, starting with the front, and then do all this extra stuff at the very end after they've been through the inside of the house. And I usually put things in order, and just like you guys probably already do, but just like the way that you would tour a house, I put it in order of that way.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't even, the difference a listing makes when it's been photographed professionally and the agent knows how to lay those photos out and take you through the house. Those photos should tell you a quick story of what that house looks like and what it is all about within the first 15 photos. Like I should know pretty much everything about that house within the first 15 photos.
Yep. Agreed. 100%.
Awesome.
Cool.
Hanging out with us
Thanks for
a
letting me.
second.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's and someone asked in this chat about digital staging. So digital staging is fine. It's sometimes not cheap for the agent or for you to do. It is quick, but I would some of the digital staging photos, the minute I look at it, I know it's fake. I know that furniture wouldn't really fit in that room the way they've got it set up. And it, to me, as a seasoned agent, it turns me off sometimes. And I don't know. And then I also have to go through and have a conversation with my client prior to opening that door that, hey, just remember everything you saw in those photos, this is going to be an empty house when we get inside. It does not have the same feel. It is, you know, if you're trying to decide between staging the home or digitally staging, I will tell you every single time, spend the money and stage the house. And the digital staging, it's great to kind of show the layout and what it would look like, but I feel like that it does turn off some people, especially when they get inside and they're like, ah, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. So.
I agree, Nat. I hate digital staging. I have been looking for a house for myself personally, and every time I saw digital staged houses, I was like, oh, they went cheap. And then when you walk into the house, it does not have like that warm and cozy feeling that you're looking for as a buyer. And I'm like a seasoned investor and have been doing this for a while, and I can have that vision to a point, but when I'm looking at a personal house, I want to feel good when I walk into there, and you do not get that with virtual staging.
And the other thing with it is too, is if you're going to use a digital staging company, you find one that's a good one, which is going to be expensive. And by the time you're done paying for, because you pay by the picture, and by the time you're done paying for that, if you don't have like a subscription or something, I mean, you could have invested that money in some staging, you know? So it's just, I don't know. And some of them are better than others, you know? I've seen some really good digital stage photos, and I've used some myself, but it's just, overall, it's not the same. So.
Hey, Matt, I got a quick question for you. So we got a borrower that didn't use a Magnolia agent, which I recommended. And he did a pretty good rehab, but not a great rehab. And he did a pretty good job of staging, but not a great job of staging. And then he listed the house too high. The house is in Chesterfield. I told him I thought the ARV was 580. He listed it at 650. And so now it's been on the market for 2 months. He's down to 574.9 now. How do you fix a situation like that? Do you ever run into a situation like that? Now he's like asking for all kinds of advice that he didn't take in the beginning. But
yeah,
what do you think about a situation like that? Is there a way to fix a scenario like that?
Yeah, so you can do a couple things. So first, it's a great point, Brian, and thank you for asking the question because it just jogged my memory. So in our market in St. Louis, the MLS that we use is called Maris, and it used to be if you wanted to clear days on market. So if I wanted to take the days on market and start from scratch at 0 to make it look like a brand new listing, I had to remove it from the MLS and leave it off the MLS for 60 days. They have changed their rules and they have now done that to 30 days. So I can get 0 days on market by pulling it, leaving it off the market for 30 days. Okay, so that's one option. If you wanted to start fresh, pull it for 30 days. That's 30 days of holding costs that nobody wants to have. But you could pull it for 30 days and go back on day 31 and have 0 days on market. So that's one option. The other option is you could cancel the listing and relist it as a new listing immediately. It's not going to clear your total days on market, but it's going to start you fresh on a new listing. And one thing that I have done is if you can get it to a competitive price and you can treat that like a brand new listing. So you go ahead and cancel it, and then the next day you go live with a brand new listing with a brand new price, maybe move your photos around, maybe clean up the listing a little bit. It sometimes can rejuvenate that listing, especially if you put it at a price that is more competitive. And that's the key. So the last time we did this, we were priced at $500,000, should have been about 440 is where we thought we should have been. So after making a couple price reductions, we didn't want to have to wait the 60 days that it was to clear days on market. So what we did was we were down to, I think we were down to like 480 or 475, somewhere around there. And the seller was convinced that he wanted 450 for it. We took it off the market. We redid some photos. We updated the listing, gave it a new marketing description, went back on the next morning at 430, which did not make our seller happy at all. And we sold it that weekend for 455.
Nice.
So again, people were terrified to go look at it, knowing with how competitive this market has been, thinking, God, that house is already overpriced. I don't want to have to go even higher to get it. And so we got him the number, but again, just like Brian, like you said, if he'd listened to me the first time, he would have saved 2.5 months of holding costs and gotten probably got the number he wanted very much faster. So,
Okay.
so
Well,
yeah.
that's good to know that you can, they MLS adjusted that, taking it off from 60 to 30. That's good to know. I didn't know that.
Yep, 30 days now. So if you pull it, leave it off for 30 days, you can go back on with 0 days on market.
Okay.
Yep.
I also think he should take the advice that we just had about pictures too.
Yeah.
Yeah, pictures it's a game changer. And, I don't know what kind of magic spell Corey has and all these other photographers, but there's something about what they do versus what we can do. And, it's the little things that people pick up on. And if that picture feels like it's taken with a 1995 Kodak camera, then that's what people think the house is like too. So,
Yeah.
All right, what else? These are easy on me.
Matt, this is Todd.
Yeah, Todd.
How y'all doing? Can we go back to the compensation thing again? Where
Yeah.
you were talking in the beginning about negotiating buyers and sellers, and man, I tell you, I'm struggling with this because we just sold a house.
Yeah.
And the agent came in and she's like, I want this set amount. My agent called me and she goes, this is what she wants. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell her because no, yes,
Yeah.
I don't know. If you tell her no, is she going to sell? Is she going to show the house? If you tell her yes, is she, we said yes, but then she came back wanting more and more. And I was like, oh my God. How is a person who's not a real estate agent, who's trying to understand this new rule, you explained it once. Is there a simpler way of explaining it?
I mean, at the end of the day, what you got to realize is that everything is negotiable. Absolutely everything. From what you list, the listing commission, to the buyer's agent commission, to what offer you accept on your house for the price of the house. So, what I've been telling our clients is that, look, if I listed your house 6 months ago, my listing rate would have been, at this percentage, and it paid the buyer. Okay, and that's typically what most agents would have charged, or around that rate. Okay, so you have to just kind of in your numbers, you've got to build in, what do I want to pay my listing agent and what do I want to pay a buyer's agent, and have that number built into your system. So you know, if I come in and I list your house and my percentage is X, and then a buyer's agent comes in and their percentage is Y, but their percentage is, let's say it's 0.5% more than what you wanted to pay. You can absolutely negotiate that on the contract and say, okay, look, I built out my numbers based on the fact that I was going to pay this total amount in commission. And to make that work, I need to counter their offer back and counter what they asked for. And so I think what you can, you know, I think most agents on buyers agencies right now, most agents are probably asking for somewhere between 2 and 3% is what they're asking for a buyer's agent commission to be paid. And that's an open negotiation on the contract. So if you were, you know, go back and look at what you paid to an agent last year when you sold a house, or 2 years ago, and build your numbers off of that, or what you're comfortable with. And you're absolutely right. You know, if you say, no, I'm not paying that commission, that's your right to pay, right to do. But if their buyer can't afford to pay it, then you might not be able to pull that offer through. We had one come through the other day, and the buyer's agent asked for what I thought was a very high number for their commission. And they also gave us an offer that was $27,000 over asking price with very few contingencies. And so our seller had to look at that and say, okay, do I pay a little extra on the commission to get this amazing offer? And the answer was, yeah, they paid it. They were like, sure, absolutely. That, because at the end of the day, the net numbers were still way in the favor of the seller. And so they were happy with it, you know? And I think, John, that's where, or Todd, that's where I think we're going to get, I think that's where the settlement fails, is because the settlement came out during a seller's market. When we're not in a seller's market and this flips, you're going to see sellers probably ended up paying more to sell houses than ever before. Because what's going to happen is, if your house has been sitting on the market for 6 months and you're not getting an offer, I guarantee that agents are going to start writing down 1% or 2% more than what they're used to paying. And they're going to say, hey, you haven't gotten an offer in 6 months. If you want my offer, that's my rate. You got to pay it. And the sellers are going to probably end up having to pay more. Now, there's a buyer agency in place that says, this is how much I contracted to get paid. But at the end of the day, those numbers on those buyers agencies are going to go up, because there's just going to be more inventory to show, more to do. And so, you know, I think that sellers will end up paying more when it flips to a buyer's market. But it's all simple economics. It's supply and demand. You know, right now, while there's a huge demand, buyers agents are going to be willing to cut their rates to make sure that their buyer gets a house. When there's, you know, when we've got way more houses than we do buyers, that's going to flip. So it'll be interesting to see how it works. But, and at the end of the day, just know that it's all negotiable, and you know what your net it needs to be, and you can negotiate that contract to make sure that that net works, that the agent gets paid, the buyers get the house they want, and you know, the numbers work for everybody.
Great. Thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely.
You know, Matt, I think it's a good reminder that we've been in a seller's market for so long. I think most people probably don't even remember what a buyer's market looks like.
I do.
I know I do.
Well, I know Brian does.
I do.
Brian for sure does.
I mean, my sales pitch when I started in the industry was, I promise if I list your house, I'll sell it in 6 months. That was I'll get it sold in 6 months. That was my sales pitch. So, yeah. Now, if you tell a seller that, they have a heart attack. So, and again, I don't know if we'll ever get back to that, because, you know, part of that was that we had so many short sales and foreclosures. The market was just so saturated. But at this point, you know, I think they said across the nation, we're like 3.5 million houses short of what we actually need. And so as long as we have that kind of demand, we're going to stay in the seller's market for quite some time. That's for sure. So.
I'm curious, anyone on the call have an active listing out right now?
Nobody?
No.
I do.
Wow.
No.
I
Oh,
do.
Naresh, you do?
Yes. I had two actually. One is under contract and one is actually 3 days now.
Okay, 3 days.
3 days
You
on
still have
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Good. How'd your one that went under contract go? Did it sell pretty quick?
No, it was like almost 1.5 month on the market, and we had to come down almost 30,000 from the original listing price, and had to replace the new roof and so many things, as Mike mentioned just now. So I had to go through all credits. I need to give it to them.
Looking back, what would you have done differently? Or would you have done anything differently when you went to list it?
It was just rehab the house and didn't do much, but after on the market, we had to replace the roof and added a couple of new doors, new flooring in the basement, new water heater,
Mm.
and whatever they're asking, I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that brings up a good point. So a couple points there. Number one, the roofs. Guys, if you got a roof that's over 10 years old, we've got insurance companies that aren't insuring these houses. And the insurance companies, I mean, if we have one more natural disaster, I feel like they're going to go underwater. But these insurance companies are just such a pain in our butt. And the buyers know it, and the buyers are hanging on that too. So they're coming in during their inspection negotiation and they're saying, hey, we want a new roof. And then you say no, and then they come back and they say, okay, well, our insurance company says if we don't get a new roof, then they're not going to insure them. And so that's been a huge, huge factor for us here the past 6 months, a year. And then the other thing is it's all the major systems. And it's just like he said, it's the hot water heater, it's the furnace, it's the roof, it's all the major stuff. And the buyers, I think, feel like they're still paying an inflated rate because the inventory is low still, but they are like, okay, well, we'll pay it, but we want all new everything. And it's like, well, you're not getting a new house, but but we're seeing a lot of that stuff. I think we've done more home warranties in the last 2 months than we have in the last 2 years, because that's one way that we've negotiated that is, hey, look, we know the hot water heater is old. We'll offer you a home warranty and that'll cover you for a year. So if that goes out in the next year, you're covered. And it's $600 for the home warranty versus a new hot water heater and installation, or same with a furnace. So just make sure if you do have an older furnace and air conditioner, have it cleaned and serviced, professionally cleaned and serviced, have them put their sticker on it to show that they were out there, because it just makes the buyers feel that much better. So not saying they won't ask for a new one, but if it's cleaned and serviced and in good working order, a lot of times they're more happy with it at that point.
And side note, roof costs are way higher than they used to be. It's
So
insane.
expensive.
So definitely make sure if your roof is questionable, you add that into the budget. I had that conversation already, like I think 3 or 4 times in the last week with investors as we've been walking properties.
Yeah, do your research, see if there's been any storms or anything that's come through that area in the last 6 months. I think we've had 3 that I know of in the company that the insurance companies have replaced the roofs during the negotiation process because there were storms and they just didn't check it. So
We just went through that, Matt. State Farm sent a drone over a house that we own, which I was unaware of. And then I got a notification 2.5 months into it that if I don't replace the roof, they're going to cancel it. And it was and they actually canceled the policy within the 30-day. They said they'll give me 30 days, but it was amazing that they're starting to use drones now. And they're saying if you have bad trees in the backyard, that's another issue they're running into.
yeah,
That they'll find the coverage if you have a big tree, a big oak tree, or so. I just think it's interesting you brought that up because I just went through that.
yep. And it's funny. I've been doing this for a long time, and we've got a property right now under contract, and the buyers are asking for a $6,000 credit because they want to remove the big trees in the backyard in the future to reduce their liability insurance on the house. So it's the first time I've ever had that come up.
Man, that's crazy. They just fly drones over your house and give you notifications. I'm glad I don't use State Farm.
If John Mike ever starts doing that, I'm out. So
I know. I'm like, thank God for shelter. Jeez.
Yeah,
I didn't
that's
even know
right.
some of these things existed. Yeah, Todd, I would switch to shelter. Jeez.
Stop kicking me when I'm down. Come on.
Trying to help you out.
Trying to give you a good resource, Todd.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
All right. Anyone else have anything for Matt? Cool. I know Bailey has a little house. I don't know if anyone's looking for a deal, but Bailey, you wanna plug your house for a sec?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. I have an assignment in Old Town Florissant. This would be a great portfolio builder. It is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 864 square feet. We have a finished basement. That's where one of the bedrooms is located. Built in 1962, vacant. It's like you guys keyed this up for me with all the talk about roofs and utilities and all that. All the utilities are in working order, 4 or 5 years old tops. Roof's in good condition. I believe it's like 8 years, but no issues there. Looks great. There's no trees in the yard that's gonna mess this up. I am going to be having walkthroughs by appointment only next Wednesday, the 16th. I can put my phone number and email in the chat for anybody that hasn't already contacted me. I know a couple of you have, and I will be sending out the email with the link for pictures, address. You can run all your comps and all that today. If you haven't gotten it today, make sure you check your spam folder and then shoot me a text, give me a call, whatever's fine. We're looking at a purchase price, including the assignment fee, for 120. So that's kind of what we got going on now. It's an awesome house. If anybody saw the last one I assigned last week, much better condition than this one. There's no fire damage on this one or anything like that. So paint it, update the bathroom, and get it rented. It's an easy one.
Bailey, what's the address on this one?
It is 5 St. Ferdinand Street in Florissant, 63031.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone reach out to Bailey. Bailey, can you put your phone number in the chat?
Yeah, I will do that right now.
Perfect. Anyone else have any wins, questions, challenges for this week that we can help you with?
I have one plug.
What?
I still need like 1 or 2 tables sold for our Greater Giving Trivia Night, which is this Saturday night in Cottleville at the Peasold Banquet Center there. So Greater Giving is our in-house charity here at the Waterbury. So Faster Funds, Faster House, Magnolia, we're all a part of it. We have a mission to shine a light on mental health and mental wellness in our community. And this is one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. It's this Saturday night. And I would love it if anybody went out and bought a table and showed up and supported us. We have a silent auction, we have a live auction. Actually, one of Brian's houses out there in Sedona is going to be on the auction block. You can rent for 4 nights out there in Sedona at one of the houses. So Angie Kitco is one of our sponsors, and she's got a table out there, so she will be there for sure. So I would love to sell 1 or 2 more tables. So and Rachel, we can put the link in there. Look at you.
I put it in there.
Man, you were good. So we'd love to see you guys come out there. So we have a ton of auction items, and it's just going to be a blast. So beer, wine, and sodas included. Bring your snacks. Trivia is going to be a good time.
It's one of the best nights of the year.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it's super fun. We have our Faster Funds and Greater STL rental team will be there. So would love it if anyone wants to put together a table or 2 and join us. Tons of investors too. Great networking event, and you can probably write it off as, I don't know, can you write that off as a tax thing, you think, Matt?
I write off.
Yes, it's a charitable contribution.
Charitable, that's
Absolutely.
right.
That's
Yes,
right.
Yeah, thank you, Angie.
Yep. 501c3.
Yeah. See, nice tax write-off and lots of fun.
And your silent auction items are write-offable because the money goes to charity. So if you win that house in Sedona, that's a vacation that you get to write off. I'm
That's
not
exactly
a professional,
right.
but I know how to write stuff off.
Yep, me too.
Angie, thanks for chiming in. I love all that.
And that's Inner Wealth sponsoring, not Angie Kitco, Matt. I just want to make sure that you.
Yeah, in a
Okay, I
row.
figured you knew that. Okay. I could see us getting there. It says Angie Kitco instead of Enter Wealth, and Mike's like, you.
Have a nice, beautiful picture of you, Angie.
Angie Kitco.
Anyone else have any? We got a few more minutes. So anyone else have anything they want to talk about? Wins, challenges, questions?
We're still looking for our first house. I think we put in offer number 19 this week. So we've been kind of crushing on the offers. Didn't get it though. But you know, every house we walk, every property we learn something on. So still looking for our first flip.
Nice.
You're doing the right things, Angie. Walking houses and making offers.
Thank you.
I do have a slightly out of left field question for anybody that has some rental properties. We're actually in the process of moving in a new tenant. They're moving in next Monday, and we're writing up the lease right now. And I was just curious because I have a feeling that these people are going to be long-term tenants. They've said that they've planned on living there for a while. And prior to the move-in, I had to do a weekend's worth of landscaping from the previous tenant who lived there for like 2 or 3 years. And I got a quote because just to like clean it out, and it was like, $300 or $400, but I just decided to do it myself. And so I'm curious, when you guys write up leases, as part of the like security deposit, do you guys make light landscaping part of it? Because like I'm just thinking, if they move out 3 years from now and they just let the whole backyard, go to shambles in terms of landscaping, like, do you, if you got quoted 300 and they just didn't take care of it, would you take that out of their security deposit?
As long as it's in your lease, I absolutely would. And we have all that in our leases, gutter maintenance, leaf pickup, lawn care, anything like that. We do very minimal landscaping at all of our rental houses because we know they don't do a bunch, but keeping fence lines cleaned, all of that. And then we do an annual inspection. And after those annual inspections, we tell people, hey, FYI, ding, 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 here's all these spots in the leases, the things you're responsible for. You need to take care of this.
Yeah, because we do basic like we actually provide them with a lawnmower and like weed eater and stuff like that. But we just in the past have never thought to do like light landscaping as well, because I don't want to be in a situation again where I'm pulling weeds for 5 hours on a weekend. So okay, I was just curious.
All that in your lease. You can have that in your lease, bed bugs in your lease, rodents. I'm trying to think of like all the different random things that we have in our lease.
There's one, I don't remember what it's called, but then we have something for like water, basically like.
Oh, like sewer backups.
Yeah.
We have stuff like that's on them because we clean it out before. And if it backs up, they're responsible.
And we do, when we have the lease signups, we talk them through each of those things in the leases so that they know like landscaping is your responsibility. You need to clean out the gutters once a year, but then we also send like reminders. So like in the fall, we send out like here, I don't think we've sent it yet, but here soon we'll send out, like make sure to clean out your gutters if leaves have fallen in,
Things do leaf pickup, all of that.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. All right. Appreciate it.
Also, Alex, I wouldn't provide a lawnmower or weed eater going forward. You'll be shocked at how many tenants actually pay for lawn care.
So we didn't purchase said lawnmower and other lawn care. The previous tenant bought it brand new and just left it. So we're like, okay. Okay.
Leave it if you want.
Yeah, we're just leaving it. So
and then just make it super clear to your tenants that this is just here for you to use if you want it, but we will not repair it if it breaks. Like
right.
This is, just like if you were to leave a laundry machine or something like that.
Right. Like if they don't take care of it, that's on them,
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, that's good. We got just a couple more minutes. Anyone else have anything? Nope. Well, we can wrap up a couple minutes early for the day. Next week, it feels crazy, but we already have our next Buyers Club meetup. So come on out next Thursday to the Waterbury Meeting Center. Brian is the one speaking. He's basically going to share a little bit about his story, talk about the game of money and how to be able to find freedom and wealth through your life. So it should be really good. Brian's a great speaker and he's been around a long time, so he knows the real estate business super well. And then we will have our call again next Wednesday at noon. I believe it'll be an open call. So anyway, lots of good stuff coming up. If you guys need anything in the meantime, feel free to reach out to myself or put it in the Facebook group. I will, in the Facebook group, I will put a link to all of the vendors that we talked about too. So just in case you didn't get it on the call, I'll make sure that Janisa, Corey, Matt's, everyone's contact info is in there as well. So awesome. Well, I hope you guys have a great day and we will see you next time.
Thanks, Rachel.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Matt.
Bye.
Okay.